Wellington dropped almost 6% yesterday. Why did it drop almost 6%? Look at that. Look at that drop. Why? Anyone want to take a gander why that happened? Now, this is actually a good question. My man Glenn had emailed me this, and I'm not making fun of him. This is actually a wonderful question. I'm glad he emailed me this, frankly, because I guarantee many of you guys are going to have the same thing. But Glenn had the guts to actually to ask. So this is good. So Glenn, much obliged for your question. I'm not bashing you. I'm telling you right now, you are one of millions who are going to see the same thing. You're like, what the hell? So Glenn says, look, man, it dropped 6%. This is my, I don't have my email here, but basically calls it a safer fund, if that makes sense. So let's take a look. It's a simple explanation, Glenn. All right, so what happened was, here's Wellington Fund. It dropped by $2.80 yesterday, which is 5.96% of his net asset value. So let's go to Vanguard, and we're going to see what happens. So we're going to see, here's Wellington. This is Admiral shares. This is the same thing for the investor shares. All we're going to do is we're going to go to distributions, and we're going to see had a capital gain of $4. Capital gain of $4. And this is the Admiral shares, by the way. Let's go to the regular shares so we can compare the two. VELX. So they'll probably have a capital gain about 250, I'm presuming. Let's take a look. Something like that. All right, so they're gonna have a capital gain distribution of $2.35. Yeah. On yesterday. So look at that. 236 plus 17 plus 21. So the share price had 2.36 plus 0.17 plus 0.21. $2.74 was distributed to you, the shareholders, on a $44.18 reinvest price. So $2.74 divided by 44.18, that's 6.2%. So actually, the shares actually gained. So it redistributed, had income distributions of 6.2% of net asset value, but actually only dropped by 5.96%. So Wellington itself was actually up by 6.2 minus 0.596, 0.024%. So it was actually up on the day, because it distributed 6.2% of its net asset value, but it only actually fell by 5.96. So the actual share price improved relative to the distributions. That probably doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's good. That's huge, though. So if you had this right here in a taxable account, woo, you're in a world of hurt, man. That is 40. I mean, I'm telling you, man, that's for every share you had, per share distribution, you got $2.35 of a distribution long-term capital gain. So think about it. For every share you had, what do we say? 2.36 plus 0.21 plus 0.17. So that's $2.74. If you had 1,000 shares, you had 44,000 in there. So if you had 1,000, let's say 2,500 shares. So you had roughly $100,000 in Wellington. 2,500 shares, you got 2.74. You just had $6,850 of taxable income if this were not in an IRA. That's significant. Let's look at some other ones too, because that's big. Reinvested capital gain, 5.9% as NAV. Woo! Unrealized appreciation, $13. So they just distributed 28% of the net unrealized appreciation. So if you had this in a non-IRA, woo, you're in a world of hurt. Hope this helps. A great question, Glenn, and I hope that explains it for you. All right, well, actually, I didn't finish up. What this means is you actually got reinvested. You have more shares. So if you had this reinvested, you simply have more shares in the fund now. That's all there is to it. You have not lost any value unless you had it coming out as income, which I never recommend. If you had this reinvested, you have more shares for the fund. You're actually even. You're actually up for the day. All right, you were up for the day if you have it reinvested. So hope this helps. Love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you.